Okay then, good evening everyone. I hope you people are doing great in this time of social lockdown. Okay, so as someone of you have asked me about that human reproductive system. So as I guess you all have that basic knowledge about reproduction, human reproduction. Okay, it's quite simple, no? But still, it's quite tricky. So here you can see there are five keywords that I'm going to just describe to you all. Okay, so as you know, the primary sex organ, as that number one is mentioning here. Okay, so the primary sex organ or gonads, as in the case of male, they are simply that testes, and in the case of female, they are the ovaries. Okay, secondary sex organ, that means which without the organs, these primary sex organs or gonads will be of no means. Okay, like that, that uteri, the vagina in the case of female, and in the case of male, there are the penis, that vas differences and all. Okay, you'll get that in your book. Okay, then comes that function of sex hormones. You already have so much idea in the last chapter of class 11, where there was all that endocrine organs and all in endocrine glands and the hormones. Okay, so there are some sex hormones and some secondary sexual characters. As you know, the characters that grows up with the growing age. You all know what is puberty is, no? When the change comes in the human body. Okay, like the age is 15 to 18, as we all know. That male specific character, like that deepening of voice, that muscular appearance, that mental change. Okay, and in the case of female, that the deposition of fat inside the body, inside the skin layer, and also all that female specific characteristics comes. Okay, and at last comes that spermatogenesis and that oogenesis. Okay, the most tricky one. Okay, so you have to go through your books, repeated quite several times. Okay, the spermatogenesis, it is just a chain-like process which makes the sperm to grow. Okay, and oogenesis, which makes a mature ovum. You all have that primary knowledge in your class 10 in that reproductive system chapter. Okay, like that menstrual cycle, there that M-Pol, as you know, M for menstrual phase, then comes follicular phase, then come ovulatory phase, and come luteal phase. Okay, so here is some fetal precursors. You just get to see it for the first time. So what are these? I'll come later on. Okay, so the first thing first is that the sperm and ovum, it meets and in that fallopian tube of the female reproductive tract, and there it develops embryo which comes to that uterus, and with that finger-like projection it get attached to the uterine wall, and there it just grows up. You all know that. So that small baby, that small zygote, when it grows up, we call it fetus. Okay, so here is some process of that spermatogenesis and oogenesis. I'll come later on this topic. Okay, so there is always a doubt in the biological brain, that how does a fetus which have undifferentiated sex, when it's so much little inside the womb, so how it divides, how it matures into either a male or a female. Okay, so you all know that what are the chromosomes? There are 23 pairs of chromosome, 22 autosome, and 2 allosomes. Okay, so the first is that allosome, or the sex chromosome. So the embryo which have the cells with XX, it develops into female, and which have XY, it grows into male. Okay, so what are the function of these two types of chromosome? When it is of, let me tell you one thing. When a baby is growing, it already grows as a female. Okay, when a baby is growing inside the body, it always grows like a female up to that 21st or 42 days. Okay, I have some doubts regarding it, but when the baby is growing, it is a female. Then what happens if the embryo have chromosome with that XY appearance? The chromosome have gene, you all know that. So that gene will produce some proteins. okay, and that proteins will stop that female differentiated characters. It will stop the female growth, and it turns the body into a male, into a male like appearance. All the gonads, they all comes, okay, inside that fetus. So what happens, there are some fetal precursors, okay. As you can see, the first one is Wolffian duct, second one is Mullerian duct, third one is gonads. So these are the precursor. Precursor means these are there inside that fetus, and it turns into something else, into that two specific sexes, okay. So suppose if there is XY chromosome, that Wolffian duct will form epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, and ejaculatory duct. These four are all part of male reproductive system, okay. So what happens when there is XY chromosome, that means inside the male, it grows as it turns the Wolffian duct into epididymis and seminal vesicle. And when that epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, ejaculatory ducts, all of them have grown up, that XY chromosome, the product of that XY chromosome, it will stop that development of the Mullerian duct. So there will be no change, okay. And the gonads, it will turn into testes. These gonads, we call it a genital ridge, okay. Actually, genital ridge is considered in the insects, in the lower arthropods, okay. But you can tell it's undifferentiated sex bodies. It turns into testes. So the testes, it have two types of cells inside it: Sertoli cells and Leydig cells. Sertoli cells, it produces ABP. So what is ABP? It is not the newspaper, okay. It is androgen binding protein. And testis, it is testosterone. So here you have seen the function of sex hormones, okay. Sex hormones. So this testosterone is a particular sex hormone which produces that male specific characteristics, okay. So the male part is completed. Now I'll go to that female part, okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay, the condition of my whiteboard is very poor, but let it be. So in case of female, that Wolffian duct, it have no growth inside it, as there is absence of XY chromosome. It's XX. So Wolffian duct doesn't grows up at all, okay. Then comes Mullerian duct. As in the female, this Mullerian duct, it grows into fallopian tube, uterus, and vagina. So you look, that Mullerian duct have no function in the male, while the Wolffian duct have no function in female, okay. Then comes the ovaries, the gonads, it changes into ovaries, okay. Ovaries have one type of particular cell that is called as granulosa cells. These granulosa cells produces estrogen. Later on, when that the ovulation occur, that granulosa cells, it turns into granulosa lutein cells, which produces progesterone. So these two are the sex hormones of that ovaries, okay. So let's do a quick review. So fetal precursor, Wolffian duct, Mullerian duct, and gonads. Wolffian ducts produces male specific characteristics, the organs, secondary sex organs: epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, ejaculatory duct. Mullerian duct, it have no function in male. The gonads, it turns in testes. Testes have two types of cells: Sertoli cells and Leydig cells, okay. Female, in the case of female, the Wolffian duct have no function. It gets repressed or suppressed. The Mullerian duct, it produces fallopian tube, uterus, and vagina. The gonads turns into ovaries. We have two cells, actually one particular cells, granulosa cells, it produces estrogen, okay. So the video is getting quite lengthy. What can I do? So here comes that actual part, okay. Let me tell you, the video is going out of focus for some second, okay. Look, at the top there are primordial or primary germ cells, okay. What are these germ cells? Germ cells means all that cell that can produces that reproductive part, you all know that, okay. So look at the top, it have 2n, you know all these things, these are the number of chromosome, okay. So when that primary germ cell or that underdeveloped or non-developed germ cell is there, it have 2n number of chromosome, okay. In this side sorry, I forgot to write down that one. As you can see, there's spermatogonia and here is oogonia. So that means this is the spermatogenesis part, this is the oogenesis part. Okay, so as you can see, it is a step like journey. So the 2n, the 2n number of chromosome, the cells containing 2n number of chromosome, it goes for mitosis, isn't it? Look that at the first it is 2n in number, then it's again 2n, and then again it is 2n. So what happens? It goes for a multiplication. The phase is named as multiplication phase. Okay, at the end of this phase, that in this case it forms spermatogonia, and in this oogenesis case it forms oogonia. Then there is a delayed, there is a gap, or you can say it is a growth phase. Okay, where the spermatogonia, it develops into primary spermatocyte, and the oogonia, it turns into primary oocyte. These things happen in the tight regulation of that 6 hormones mentioned earlier. Okay, so this particular stage is called as growth stage. Okay, after the growth stage comes maturation step. What happens? As you can see in that spermatogenesis, the 2n, now that growth, that fully grown primary spermatocyte it start meiotic division. Okay, as you can see, there was 2n, then it get halved into n and n. That means in haploid. Earlier it was diploid, now it is haploid. So it forms secondary spermatocyte. Okay, there's some, it's my mistake, there is very less place beside this board. So here you can see the secondary spermatocyte. Then secondary spermatocyte again goes for another division, second meiotic division. It forms spermatid. Okay, then it is NN. Then this N, the cells containing N number or haploid number of chromosome, they goes for further maturation, and we call it spermiogenesis, written in the green color, and it forms that mature sperm. That's it. This is a simple process of formation of a mature sperm from a primary germ cell. So what happens in the female part? As you can see, these two part is almost same. This growth phase is also same, but there is one exception. In this case of this oogenesis, this 2n, this grown primary oocyte, it goes for first meiotic division. Okay, it forms a well-grown big size of cell containing haploid number of chromosome and a very regressed, very small type of cell. We can call it as polar bodies. Okay, then for the second meiotic division, this n number of chromosome, that secondary oocyte you can see in red color, that grows further into a single ovum, and the remaining 3 forms polar bodies. Means from that secondary oocyte, one ovum is found and one goes for polar body, and from this first polar body there forms more 2 polar bodies. Okay, this is a control mechanism of the female bodies. That's why from one ova only one, sorry, from one primordial germ cell only one ova can be produced. Okay, and you all know that process of formation of mature ova is called as oogenesis, and also you can relate that menstrual cycle with it. Okay, so go through your books. I hope it will help you. Okay, and later on we will go for that hormonal regulation of that spermiogenesis and oogenesis. Okay, have a good day.